Worldcon, or more formally the World Science Fiction Convention, the annual convention of the World Science Fiction Society, is a science fiction convention. It has been held each year since 1939. The members of each Worldcon are the members of WSFS, and vote both to select the site of the Worldcon 2 years later, and to select the winners of the annual Hugo Awards, which are presented at each convention. Activities and events at the convention typically include activities to support fan and external charities, art show presenting paintings, drawings, sculpture and other work, primarily on science fiction and fantasy themes, autographing sessions, literary beer or coffee with meetups, walks with the stars, and other chances to meet favorite science fiction and fantasy professionals. Award ceremonies, Chesley Awards, Hugo Awards, costuming, both formal competition and casual hall costumes, or cosplay. Dancing, one or more dances with live music or a DJ. Exhibits, including photos of prominent fans and authors, historical displays, information about space and science, local information and more. Huckster Room, the fan term for a dealer's or vendor's room, a large hall full where fans can buy books, knickknacks, games, comic books, movies, jewelry, costumes and other goods. Fan Lounge, a place for reading, exchanging, contributing to, and talking about fanzines. Fan Tables, where fan organizations and representatives of other conventions promote the groups. Filk and other musical performances, music circles, and workshops. Films, an independent film festival, and other film rooms showing science fiction movies, television shows, etc. Gaming, live action and tabletop board games, card games, and role-playing games. Live theatrical performances, panel discussions on a wide range of topics pertaining to speculative fiction, literature, film, audio and other media, art, graphic stories, fandom and fanish hobbies, science, technology, and society, costuming, gaming, and music, socializing in the consuite, convention bars, and at parties, speeches or other presentations by the guests of honor and other program participants. Other business of the World Science Fiction Society, including voting on the location of future Worldcons and North American science fiction conventions and any changes to the WSFS Constitution, which are made at WSFS business meetings during the convention. Awards. The World Science Fiction Society administers and presents the Hugo Awards, the oldest and most noteworthy award for science fiction. Selection of the recipients is by vote of the Worldcon members. Categories include novels and short fiction, artwork, dramatic presentations, and various professional and fandom activities. Other awards may be presented at Worldcon at the discretion of the individual convention committee. This has often included the National SF Awards of the host country, including the Japanese Seiun Awards as part of Nippon 2007, and the Pre-Aurora Awards as part of Anticipation in 2009. The John W. Campbell Award for Best New Writer and the Sidewise Award, though not sponsored by the Worldcon, are usually presented, as well as the Chesley Awards, the Prometheus Award, and others. Guests of honor. Each Worldcon committee selects a number of guests of honor for the convention. Typically there is an author and a fan guest of honor. Many conventions also have artist, editor, and science guests, and most have a toastmaster for major events, such as the opening and closing ceremonies and the Hugo Award ceremony. A few conventions have had 2 or even 3 author guests, while other conventions may select guests on the basis of current popularity. Worldcons typically select guests of honor as an acknowledgement of significant lifetime contribution to the field. While these are often well-known figures, some committees choose lesser-known figures precisely because the committee feels the guest's accomplishments deserve more recognition from the community. Selection is treated by authors, fans, and others as a recognition of lifetime achievement. As such, the tradition is to award it only to those who have been making significant contributions for at least 20 years. Guests of honor generally receive travel expenses, membership, and a small per diem from the convention, but no speaking fees. In order to announce guests immediately after site selection, Worldcon bid committees select one or more guests before the site selection vote. Fans consider it inappropriate for bids to compete on the basis of their chosen guests, so bids do not reveal who the guests are until after the vote, and losing bids generally never reveal who they invited. This is usually treated with the same discretion as the Hugo Awards, where only a few people might know in advance who the guests will be. World Science Fiction Society. The name Worldcon is owned by the World Science Fiction Society, an unincorporated literary society whose purpose is to promote interest in science fiction. WSFS has no standing offices, only small standing committees, and a large membership composed of the members of the current Worldcon. Its main activities are running the selection process for the annual convention and various awards. The conventions themselves are run by non-profit, volunteer fan organizations who bid to host the event. The WSFS Constitution itself is discussed and amended by the annual general meeting, known as the business meeting, held at the Worldcon, usually in 3 morning sessions on successive days. The WSFS Constitution determines the rules for site selection, for the Hugo Awards, and for amending itself. The business meeting also impanels a number of standing or ad hoc committees to deal with review of amendments and with certain administrative functions. The most important standing committee is the Mark Protection Committee, which is responsible for maintaining the Society's trademarks and domain names. Site selection. Most Worldcons are held in North America, although they have also taken place in the United Kingdom, Germany, Australia, the Netherlands, and Japan. In 2015, the 73rd World Science Fiction Convention was held in Spokane, Washington. The first Worldcon to be held outside the U.S. was the 6th in 1948 in Toronto, Canada, and the first outside North America was the 15th World Science Fiction Convention in 1957 in Bayswater, London. The 2007 Worldcon in Yokohama, Japan, was the first to be held in Asia. Other non-US Worldcons have included the 2005 Worldcon, held in Glasgow, Scotland, the 2009 Worldcon in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, the 2010 Worldcon in Melbourne, Australia, and the 2014 Worldcon in London, United Kingdom. Sites for future Worldcons are determined by voting of the Worldcon membership. Worldcons through 1970 were selected 1 year in advance, from 1971 through 1986, 2 years in advance, from 1987 to 2007, 3 years in advance. Then from 2008 to the present, 2 years in advance again. For example, during the 2011 Worldcon in Reno, San Antonio was selected to host the 2013 Worldcon. The rules changes to lengthen or shorten the period were implemented by selecting 2 future Worldcons at the 1969 and 1984 conventions and by having the 2005 convention not select any, to ensure that the Worldcon moves around to different locations. The WSFS Constitution requires that the proposed sites must all be at least 500 miles away from the site of the convention at which the selection vote happens. When a Worldcon is held outside of North America, a North American science fiction convention may also be held within North America that same year. Since 1975, whenever a Worldcon site outside North America is selected, WSFS administers a parallel site selection process for the NASFIC, voted on by WSFS members at the Worldcon held 1 year prior to the prospective NASFIC, with the 2014 Worldcon being held in the United Kingdom. Members at the 2013 Worldcon in San Antonio chose Detroit to be the site of the 2014 NASFIC and Spokane, Washington, as the site of the 2015 Worldcon. Convention committees. As WSFS itself is an unincorporated society, each Worldcon is organized by a separate committee legally incorporated in the local jurisdiction in the United States. These are usually set up as 501 non-profit corporations. The local organizers may be standalone committees, or they may be organized by an existing local group. A few groups such as MCFI in Boston and Sci-Fi in Southern California are permanent corporations set up to run Worldcons in different years in the same geographical area. Like most non-media science fiction conventions, all Worldcons are run entirely by volunteers, with no paid staff. Senior committee members devote hundreds of hours in preparation for a particular convention, while each convention is run separately by the local committee. An informal and self-selected group of volunteers constitute the permanent floating Worldcon committee, who volunteer for many Worldcons in different years. This group offers a measure of institutional continuity to otherwise disparate legal organizations. Recent Worldcons have had budgets running close to $1 million. The main source of revenue is convention membership, but Worldcons also collect fees from exhibiting dealers and artists and advertisers in publications, and some conventions manage to attract sponsorships up to 5% of total income. The main expenses are facilities rental and related costs, then membership reimbursements to program participants and volunteers, then publications, audio-visual equipment rental, and hospitality. Traditionally, all members must pay for the membership if the convention makes an adequate surplus after covering operating expenses. Full or partial membership reimbursements are paid back to volunteers after the convention. Most Worldcons run a small surplus, which under the rules of WSFS and the non-profit legislation in the jurisdiction, they are required to disburse to qualified organizations. Typically half the surplus is donated to future Worldcons, in a tradition called pass-along funds. Because of the size, Worldcons have two layers of management between the chair and the staff. Departments operate a specific convention function, while divisions coordinate the work of several departments. Department heads have one or more deputies plus a large staff, or they may have no staff at all. Most Worldcons have between 5 and 12 division heads who form the convention executive group. In order for convention staff and members to quickly identify the function of other staff at the convention, Worldcons use ribbons of differing colors which are attached to convention badges to signify different roles and responsibilities. Often there are ribbons to signify rank, division, and department as specialized functions. Ribbons are also used to identify program participants, other noteworthy members, or classes of members who are interacting with convention staff. Some members of the committee may be performing a variety of current or past roles and could have a large number of ribbons attached to each other, hanging from a badge. Extending this tradition, other groups and individuals create more special ribbons for use at the convention. These may be serious or silly. Convention badge ribbons are important memorabilia and become valuable years later because they evoke memories of events at the convention, and often can be expected to be displayed in exhibits at future conventions. It is commonplace for Worldcon attendees to wear the ribbons from previous Worldcons alongside or below the current Worldcon ribbon, occasionally incurring minor confusion. There is also a convention badge, displaying each attendee's name, membership number, and fanish nickname. The customary practice is for all attendees at the same convention to wear badges of the same design, but each Worldcon's badge design is unique to the convention. As with ribbons, Worldcon attendees will often wear the badges from previous Worldcons alongside or below the current badge.